housing bill. But now the backbone of society is the family. It is, always has been. However, we have redefined the family to the point where sometimes it's unrecognizable. That's, we've let society get in the way, I guess, maybe is a way to put that. This is weird, but used to be, a young man, you grow up, you get a skill, a trade, a purpose in life, and whatever education you need or training you need for that skill, and then you find a companion and you create a family. That was the goal, right? Stability. Not so much anymore. What's going on? Dr. John Braccio will look at the psychological side of that whole thing on our little thing here. What's up, Doc? Doc Braccio, good morning.
Well, good morning, Mike. And today we're talking about that really there are a number of young men rejecting couples intimacy. Okay? It's a phenomenon that most persons are not familiar with and have probably not thought about very much, if at all. The starting point is that 60% of young men under 30 are single. Sexual intimacy was at a 30 years low a few years ago, and this trend really seems to be continuing. In the years 2022, 2023, 24% of men aged 22 to 34 reported they had had no sex with a partner in the last year. It's reported that 76 to 87% of men 18 to 29 years old are regularly consuming pornography. Another really interesting reported situation, Mike, is that men between the ages of 20 and 30 are spending less time outdoors than prison inmates. It also is reported that there are men who use porn who tend to report less satisfaction with real-life sex. And on top of all this, the lack of interaction skills that were not developed during COVID, when persons were often relegated to just using the internet for communication, adds another interesting dimension to this situation. Another factor, is that many men appear to find internet excitement and self-gratification more satisfying, less complicated, and less risky than trying to be in a relationship with a partner with mutually satisfying intimacy. Now, a problem with all of this information is that people arguably need interactions with people for good mental health, and this trend is not good for men and certainly leads to a much smaller number of men for women who desire to marry, let alone have the ability to have children and hopefully a love-generating home. Reasons given for this current situation, in addition to COVID, would include that many women also are not that ready to be in an intimate couples relationship as they are striving for educational and personal goals. There also are men who grew up in dysfunctional homes who have no desire to be part of one. There also is the generally unreasonable fear by some men that women will lie about them in any sexual relationship and they choose not to be involved. I personally have heard young men fearful of being falsely accused of inappropriate sexual activities in a relationship that might go in a negative way. Even if this is not reasonable, if a man has this belief and decides to act on it, it can lead to a lack of couples intimacy. Now, a problem with possibly changing this whole, lack of couples intimacy situation with men is that there's really no easy solution. If your belief is that couples relationships are good and good intimacy is important and it's good to have children and potentially a happy family, no. It's hard to change this because at present there doesn't seem like to be a great awareness of the situation with so many young men or any desire to change it. So it's just kind of a status quo. It's occurring, that goes on, and it's just kind of something that's just what's part of the current relationship or lack of relationship landscape that is the United States of America.
Yeah, well, and the status quo is a continuing deterioration of intimacy.
Yes.
Do we even understand the word intimacy anymore or how to interact with people? There's a big problem there. You find people with terrible social skills, the soft skills, just even in a workplace. I don't know how did we drop the ball on that?
Well, I think part of it, of course, is COVID. I mean, we did have a couple of years there where a lot of people just lived with a computer. And it's become a part of them. And when we talk about intimacy, sexual intimacy, among partners, predominantly men, women, but obviously in homosexual relationships too. A lot of people just we're talking about men specifically, have just decided they don't want anything to do with it. I mean, they're going to deal with pornography, they're going to deal with self-satisfaction, they're going to just not be involved. And there's a large number, okay? And
right.
it's a situation that no one necessarily sees as horrible or bad in this age of anything goes. But again, from a mental health point of view, I think it's strongly arguable that relationships, partnerships, sexual intimacy together, that these are important things, and having the family, having children, these are really goals and can be very, very positive. But again, there's just a percent of we're talking men today,
right,
that have just decided that they dropped out of this and they're into their own thing. So that's part of reality.
And here's the thing: and I don't know if I can blame COVID so much, because that was a period of time, short relatively, in the bigger picture. I know we can hang a little bit on COVID, but I think,
some
and I'm not trained. I mean, I don't have the numbers and the training as you, but it just seems to me we haven't. It's generational, and generation in the last, say, 2 generations, we've completely forgotten how to court, how to date, how to respect each other, and the ultimate goal of a union for life. You look at those old marriages, 60, 70 years, till death do you part. And I was guilty as anybody. I loved, like I always say, I loved it so much I've done it twice. And maybe a third one, who knows. But, intimacy. We need to figure that out.
I think it's something that we do really need to promote more. We need to see the positivity of this, because people really don't want to be ending up alone, not having someone, not being in a relationship. There's so many great things in having an intimate, loving relationship with a partner. I really believe that. On the other hand, we live in an age where anything is acceptable, and there are many persons that apparently are satisfied in this situation they're doing it. I'm more or less bringing it up as an awareness also, because a lot of people really aren't aware of it. They really don't think about it, not at all. And I might add, I've been talking to men, obviously, for years, and I've seen more and more of this. Maybe not huge percentages, but I've seen numbers. And all of a sudden, as I was digging into it more, I thought, boy, there's a lot really going on here, and something worth throwing out into the mix. But again, if you're a promoter of families and children and love, intimacy between partners, then this is an age where a lot of that is separating, and let alone just long-distance internet relationships, or just one after another, not being with any one particular person. It's a very interesting time from a psychological perspective as far as relationships go.
Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services, drjohnb.com on the web. And, get some help with the intimacy. But we need to change the course of that ship flying. And Doc, we're up on time as always. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure talking to you, my friend. Bye-bye.
See you, buddy. 1320 WILS. Coming up on 720, Congress.